So I think I will have to take the lead here for this fireside chat. I think we have already established the fine company I'm with, and so we'll try to get right into it. Um, it's an interesting mix because as a regulator, I'm joined with the president of the Bankers Association, and I'm also joined by Mr. Reynaldo Magana, who's running what I think is a very creative subsidiary of the Financial Services Commission, um, which is Finance Belize, and its mission or its vision is really to promote the banking space here in Belize. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And let's get straight to the questions. I'll start off with Mr. Magana. Um, Tell us from your perspective, how does financial stability and regulatory compliance support sustainable economic growth in Belize?
Thank you, Governor. It's a pleasure to be here today, to be in front of you all. Um, just to say, I'm the chairman of Finance Belize, the marketing and promotion arm for financial services sector in Belize. Anyway, Governor, thanks for the question. Financial stability is when it builds investor and consumer confidence in a financial market. What it does is that when you have a stable bank, a stable credit union, or stable financial institutions, it reassures depositors that their investments and savings are safe. That's one thing. It reduces the risk of capital flight. And also, as we all know, we had correspondent banking issues a few years ago. So what financial stability is doing for us now is improving that sort of relationships we have with correspondent banks, which will help us, to be included within the global financial networks. Also, the confidence in financial stability also translates to greater domestic savings and investments. So what that does is that it increases a bank's strength and it enables access to capital to various persons within the market. Regulatory compliance also attracts foreign direct investment and it also increases access to capital. As we may all know, Belize over the years has done a lot to be compliant with, for example, mandates from the EU, OECD, FATF, and also some of the IMF standards. Investors look at these things before they decide to make investments or before releasing any capital or committing any capital. So by Belize being able to demonstrate globally that it's off any blacklist, off any FATF blacklist, it tells a story that yes, Belize has made great effort to get off these blacklists and be transparent and be compliant to the world. So finally, stability and compliance also lowers systemic risk. For example, Belize has a stable exchange rate. It has a sound fiscal policy, and it has adequate reserves within the banking system. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Ray.
Now, I have a question for Mr. Alario. In what ways do robust banking and financial systems attract domestic and international investment?
Well, thank you. Thank you for, first of all, Governor, for inviting me. I am nervous, I'm in front of my regulator, so I need to be P's and Q's, sure that I don't say anything that I'll regret the future examinations. We are an investment summit here, and investors usually follow returns, investors follow opportunity, but most importantly, investors follow confidence. The confidence that their assumptions when they make business plans and they invest are solid, that they don't have to worry about um, shocks that are sort of black swan events. You know, they like to see a stable financial sector. They like to see a well-regulated financial sector. They like to see banks and credit unions and capital markets that provide um, capital for whatever is the endeavors that they're investing in. And they want to make sure that they can take those returns back if they have to. Um, I think that this panel is a very well put together panel in the sense that you have, with me representing the banks, you have the regulator who sets the rails, sets the highway, if you will, sets the playbook, and then we execute as capital providers, and Mr. Magana is the one that tells a beautiful story to all the investors. He goes all over the world and he tell everybody how amazing we are. Belize has an amazing, has a good banking sector. We've came a long way. We came from the days where the whole market was extremely undercapitalized. Um, all banks now have good capital, lot of liquidity in the market. So we put that behind us, and now we are ready to make sure that we can deliver to local investors and foreign investors alike. So customer centricity is extremely important for us at this point.
Thank you. So,
I have a question for the governor. Governor, how does the regulatory environment provide investors with confidence?
Uh, Thanks for the question, Mr. Alario. I've done this panel before, and I've spent a lot of time talking about the exchange rate and how important that is in anchoring investment opportunity. The very nature of stability it provides fosters that environment which an investor looks at. So our mandate at the central bank, you could call it a twin mandate. We advance, we promote monetary and financial system stability. Uh, Before we get into the technical aspects of it at a high level, it's important to underscore that even in the execution of what may seem far away or even complex concepts to a lot of people, is that a precursor to monetary and financial system stability is having the resources available within the central bank to execute what is essentially a tall mandate. And this is finance, and these are human resources and the like. The central bank's weaponry is really from its legislation and also from its capital position. Everything really is built around that. So when we look at monetary stability, we have maintained the currency peg at 2 to 1 for over 4 decades. Think about how small, think about that achievement from a small open economy that heavily imports a lot of what goes into our economy. It is quite an achievement. And for a small nation like us to maintain that for over 4 decades, it's quite noteworthy. And you can just look at some of the challenges that other countries within our region has had yeah, in just maintaining some sort of ban or exchange rate regime. So that is a key condition that investors look at. And this is something that the central bank prides itself on and religiously, fanatically tries to defend. And I'll say something a little bit controversial here. Um, that may change in the next 30, 40 years. You never know. The situation currently exists where this is the best route for Belize, which is maintaining that 2-to-1 exchange rate. So beyond that, when we look at financial stability, Mr. Alario spoke about how well capitalized the banking system is. So in our language, we try to look at a capital position that is 9%. That's a benchmark. Right now, the banking system is well capitalized at 17.8%. That means it can cushion itself against weaknesses on its balance sheet. So when loans go bad, this is where the losses are absorbed by this capital position. So again, another check for Belize. Aside from that, we look at how the wheels are greased, how these faucets are turned on, are credit conditions conducive for economic growth? Is there liquidity in the system? And we all know there's too much. There's quite a bit waiting to be deployed for viable projects. Again, this should sound good and pretty attractive to investors. And how we wrap ourselves around financial stability or a resilient financial sector, how the central bank approaches. It has an entire team dedicated to focusing on where fires may occur and where the big fires may occur. And that's a risk-based approach. So we look at the major players within the industry and we go through our own methodology, our own playbook, and then we say, such and such a bank, we see that you have weaknesses or overexposures here, and we need to address it. So we look at it from that standpoint. We try, given limited resources, to put our effort where they're needed the most. And of course, we adopt international standards such as the Basel framework. Again, kind of technical, but it prescribes what should be minimum levels of capital and what sort of capital, the quality of capital that a bank should include, as well as other guidelines, such as on credit, market risk, and operational risk. And then we're starting to introduce a big one, which is technology risk. And that's how that's the rigor of the central bank that happens behind the scenes. One of the things that I like to say is that none of this matters to most people in the audience. The true currency of the central bank is trust. Whether or not you can confidently say that your money is safe in the bank, that you have access to it, and that payments channels are open for you. You don't need to know how it's done. You just need to know that there's an institution that has that mandate and it's doing it well. Thank you.
Governor, thank you. Thank you for explaining that capital is the cushion to shocks. There is sometimes a misconception that investors, people who are interested in how the banks are liquid, feel that liquidity is the cushion to shocks, and that is not the case. Yes, we have a lot of liquidity, but we have a large responsibility to those depositors. Liquidity is not sort of like a piñata ready to break and hit it and get the liquidity. And I just want to say that the moment, you know this as a regulator, the moment a bank lends based on its liquidity is the moment that you need to start worrying, because liquidity has nothing to do with risk appetite. So yes, we have a lot of liquidity. It might be some structural deficiencies that a small market has. There's nothing we can do about that. That is very common in small island states. That's where we are. But we just need to be careful how we look at this liquidity, right? So the other point you make, Governor, is the issue of technology. And Many years ago, when I started banking and we had to rank the risks that banks have, usually credit risk was the first one. Today, our enterprise risk management framework shows credit risk to be probably 5, 6, 7. Number one is technology, third-party providers, cybersecurity, and everything that is encompassed within and sort of an operational risk. So things are changing and they're moving at an incredible space. I see the panel before talked about AI. AI is going to make a huge impact in the way that we deliver services, loans. Is going to change the way that clients expect to be serviced. And I don't think we have enough time, but that is a whole day talk about what is coming in terms of technologies for the financial sector.
I'm glad you touched on that, Mr. Alario. And just to add a little bit more, uh, so there's a backbone platform, which is our automated payments and settlement security system that was launched, I believe, in 2017, which really started to introduce technology into the payments landscape. So a lot of your instant funds transfers, your electronic funds transfer, just operating within the online space and away from not away. I have to be careful how I say that. Less reliance on cash and also checks. Um, and what the central bank is doing, and we're also going to partner with the Belize Bankers Association, is now to improve on that. It's going to be another heavy investment on now what we dub fast payments. So right now, even if you, and I think this is very important for businesses, just how you move money for operational purposes, how quickly a transaction can be executed. We still have some lags there. It's not instantaneous. So with this project, we're building true connectivity, true interoperability between the major or among the major players within the system. So now you're from a point of initiation in a transaction to completion, we're aiming for 5 seconds. That's what we're hoping for. And of course, some of you, when you travel and go to more advanced jurisdictions, you have aliases or QR codes. So essentially, you want to convert your phone now into your debit or credit card. That's what you're looking at. So this is the next step that we're making, and I would like to commend the Bankers Association for also moving in that direction along with the central bank.
Yeah, absolutely. We're fully committed to enhancing those payment rails. As you know, the organization that I represent, we just made a very large investment in moving our core to the cloud. We are the first full service bank in the Caribbean and could be in Central America that has a cloud native core banking system. And this is something transformational. I've already started to get calls to see how is it that it was done. Very painful. It took 2 years. Sort of like doing heart surgery, running a marathon because you had to do everything on production. But we are extremely proud of what this could bring for the future. So we're very happy that the central bank are preparing those highways for us to run.
Thank you, Mr. Alario. Just in the interest of time, I think you guys answered all the questions that were here. But but anyway, I'll just stick to this. I think question for the governor. What are central bank's key priorities for keeping Belize's financial system stable in the face of global uncertainties? Might have mentioned a couple.
Yeah, this is a tricky one and a quite difficult question to answer. Simply because there's so much uncertainty globally, and again, the transmission channels for a small open economy are numerous and wide. So shocks are not only big in size, but are felt on our shores quite quickly. and you don't have to look further than COVID, when we had a steep, sharp contraction of around 15%, maybe even 16%. And then even before that, if you look to the global financial crisis, what the magnitude of the impact it had on Belize through these channels. However, even within this uncertain global environment, what the central bank does, and it's one of its key mandate, is offers policy advice to the government. Because really and truly, our ability to react and respond to shocks surrounds or comes around from the fiscal space, right? How government intervenes with certain policies to recover, help to recover the economy. And so the central bank, with its team, studies the nature of the shocks, provides advice to government, and then coordinates what that policy response should look like. When Liberation Day tariffs were announced, all of us gathered at the central bank, and we tried our best to look at the extent of what the shock would have been and how we could have had a coordinated response. So that's very important. Our ability to diagnose shocks, determine what the transmission channels would be, and then coordinate what that policy response would be with the government. Apart from that, our mandate again is clear. What we can do within the Central Bank Act is clear. If those shocks ever reach our shore, we have this bazooka, if you will, this lender of last resort function, where we can jump in and save one of our systemic institutions if need be, or we can do other things on a macro prudential side. And big red sign, thumbs up. All right.
Thank you, Governor. I think we have one more question. Is it time's up?
Is it time's up?
You didn't give me a chance
bring,
to.
bring it. Yeah, do it. I don't know what you have the
You then.
Yeah, please ask me.
So you heard the president, and you heard myself giving you all the highlights of how great of a system this is and why you should bank on Belize. Tell us how you're going to market us.
Thank you, Governor.
excellent question.
Thank you, Filippo. I knew you guys would take up most of the time, but anyway. I'd just like to say that, just stemming off from my first question about financial stability and regulatory compliance. I mean, another key thing that does is to enable diversification of the economy, and that's where I would segue into the things that we're doing at Finance Belize. I mean, Finance Belize is the marketing and promotion arm for the financial services sector in Belize. We are akin to what PTB does for tourism, Finance Belize does to financial services. And I think one of the key things that we are doing is to build the reputation of Belize, is to build Belize as a highly respected jurisdiction. And hearing from you and also what Filippo has done, those things only strengthen our visibility. It helps investors from outside look at us and say, yeah, you guys are being compliant. You're being transparent. You have strong regulatory framework such as the central bank. We have the Financial Services Commission as well doing an excellent job in regulating the non-bank financial services area. So those are things that do help our perception. And what Finance believes is it's in its early stages, but we are already have boots on the ground working. For example, for this summit, we do have a CEO and other staff involved, but they are in Mexico City promoting Belize at the STEP LATAM conference. And so I had to take this opportunity to come here and represent Finance Belize. So we're doing two things this week to help promote Belize. And I think one of our end goal is to make Belize, respected yeah, we want to be the jurisdiction of choice. We want people to say, yeah, we have all these things in place. Let's do it. We can depend on Belize. We could put investments in there, and it can be safe. So that's the key thing I like to say and close off with.